Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer, Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today, you're watching your collective astrology horoscope for the new moon in Leo, which occurs on Wednesday, August 16th, 2023 at 5:38 a.m. Eastern Time or 2:38 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon in Leo is that we are trying to feel happier and be happy and move our lives forward in a much better way, especially after recently changing our lives to be more in tune with our emotions here. But we're really struggling to do that. I think to enjoy life, to move it forward here, that I think is very confusing and uncomfortable for us and making us very anxious and frustrated and feel stuck. And the reason why we're unable to move our lives forward in a better and happier place is because we have some habits that are not helping us that we need to get rid of, and in particular habits that are stuck in overthinking, overworking, perfectionism, and feeling like we have to prove ourselves here that we're going to have to come to terms with. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned because we're going to hop into it right now. In order to get started, what I like to do first is to just place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to here in this video so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. Hey, this video is for the new moon in Leo. Because of that, I've adjusted this chart accordingly for that new moon. I know that because I've got the sun and the moon here on the chart at the exact same degree and the exact same sign. And when that happens, of course, that is a new moon here. What is this all about? Well, new moons are the first phase of a new lunar cycle since they do start it. So they're all about new beginnings, new energy here, and fresh starts to get some sort of better or different momentum in our lives. And it's in the sign of Leo. What is Leo all about? Well, Leo is a fire sign, so a lot of it is about passion here, excitement, also too about happiness and joy is what a lot of Leo is about. So those are some of the things, right, that we're getting a new boost in at this new moon: more passion, more excitement, more happiness, more joy. Not only that here, but Leo is symbolized by the lion, which is a symbol of courage and of strength here in order to do those things, be happy, have fun, all of that. Not only those things, but Leo to me too is also a sign of movement in some kind of way, being a masculine sign ruled by the sun, of action, of risk taking here, and of taking initiative, especially with it being a sign here of leadership as well. So, right, to continue with it, not only at this new moon are we getting new energy or a fresh start to be more passionate, more excited, happier about our lives, but to approach it with more courage and with more strength here, and to move our lives forward, you know, to make action, make moves to move our lives forward, to make it happier and better for us here. That is going on at this time here. Not only that, but maybe the last thing I'll say here about Leo is that Leo is a lot about our identity here and who we are as a whole. So I think we're also trying to get more courage and strength and passion to make moves, not only to be happy, but to align our lives with our soul, with our identity, and with the things that are important to us here as well. That's going on. Okay, so I think that's what I want to say here for now about the big themes of this new moon. Now, before I move forward in time to give you more details or more specifics about that new moon here that we're discussing and how it might play out, I do like to go backwards in time for a minute here before I go forwards. And I like to go backwards to give you more of the context about how we got here to this point and why these themes are now coming up to be felt, lived through, and experienced. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to go back quite a bit here to a bunch of alignments that happened in 2020. If you have already heard me say this and are interested, it's fine. You can just go ahead and skip forward in the video. I've provided some timestamps and the chapters in the description box in order for you to do that. But I'm going to hop into it now. The alignment I like to start with is going to be somewhere around roughly January to April of 2020, when Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all came conjunct here towards the middle to late degrees of Capricorn. Okay, this was a very difficult and rare alignment here that occurred. It was very difficult because Saturn and Pluto were involved, which are malefic planets, and because Jupiter was in Capricorn, a sign I didn't really like to be in, which didn't really help that much. Also, it was rare and unusual here because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years, and always with Jupiter there as well. Okay, what was the difficult, rare thing that was going on? Well, Pluto is a lot about permanent change. Jupiter expands that big permanent change. And with Saturn and Capricorn here in the structure of our lives and in the direction it was going in, that was needed at that time. It was needed at that time because there had been something in our lives that had existed for many years, maybe even decades, 35 years prior here, that we did not like. Okay, so that's the first starting point here. January to April of 2020, we realized something when our life isn't right, hasn't been for a very long time. Here, we now need to make a big change in order to fix that issue here and overcome it. Okay, which I think we then started to do. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which occurred about 2 years ago. No, not 2 years after that. Here also in April of 2022. At that time, here we had a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Okay, which to me was a pretty big deal here, being, of course, an eclipse. This to me was very positive. Here also being a new moon on the North Node. What was the big positive thing that was going on there? Well, new moons about new beginnings, solar eclipses superpower that, and it's in Taurus about fertility, about abundance, about feeling more solid and more grounded. Here that was happening. So in April of 2022, we started to feel like we had made enough changes over the course of the years prior to end an experience of life we did not like, so that we could get more secure in a different and better experience that felt more fertile and more abundant. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which actually happened just 2 weeks after that last one, here somewhere also in April of 2022. And that was a full moon lunar eclipse here on the South Node in the sign of Scorpio. Okay, now that was a bit of a challenge here. That was a bit of a challenge because it was on the South Node, and the South Node just tends to be a little bit more difficult since it is a point of release here and of stuckness as well. Okay, what happened at that time? Well, 2 weeks later, with it being on the South Node, I think we then started to feel stuck and unable to really move forward with this fertile, abundant, new beginning, new chapter in life here that was going on. That was very, very hard for us. Not only did that go on, but eclipses can also be very illuminating, especially in Scorpio, which can be very insightful. So not only at that time, April of 2022, were we feeling stuck and unable to move forward on this fertile new beginning that just started to come together, a new chapter we had been working towards, but we also got some significant insights and realizations, perhaps from our intuition with the Scorpio, about why that was, why we were stuck and unable to move forward here. And the insights I think we got at that lunar eclipse in Scorpio is that the reason why we were stuck with this new and better experience of life is because we were trying to move forward building it in all the wrong ways, or the old ways for the old life that no longer applied here, that we now needed to get rid of. And in particular, we were going about trying to build the new life by old ways that weren't helpful. And those old ways that weren't helpful were ways in which we were giving too much of our power away to other people, or were too dependent upon others here, or were spending a lot of money that was going on, or indulging too many negative and uncomfortable emotions. Okay, and that the new behaviors that we needed to adopt now for the new life were ones in which we had more stable and secure emotions and weren't indulging negative ones, in which we were saving more money and were more self-reliant and self-sourcing our own power instead of connecting and trying to get it from other people and things like that. And I think that was meant to be a helpful realization there. But even though that was a helpful realization, I think we really struggled to fully adopt it and integrate it here into our being and into our behaviors. It really wasn't until many, many, many months later that I think that started to occur, especially around January now of this year, 2023. Because in January of 2023, Mars had just finished going retrograde in Gemini a bit earlier, and we had Mercury become retrograde here in the same place, over the same degrees, and in the same sign that Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter met up in 2020 in the years prior here. And I thought that was helpful for us to help us integrate a lot of these things and changes that had been needed, especially with Mercury being involved, which has to do with our mindset in a lot of our behaviors here too. So it was in January of 2023 when we finally started to, yes, be in a better experience of life and have more of the proper behaviors and mindsets in order for us to move it forward. Okay. Not only that, but also in January of 2023, I think we started to make some more adjustments within ourselves, our relationships, and our money to be done differently, more self-reliant here, saving more money and all of that. Okay. And because that finally started to happen around January of 2023, we then had two significant alignments occur after that. I want to say they were somewhere around March, I believe, March of 2023. Okay, we had both Pluto and Saturn change signs. Pluto moved into Aquarius briefly, and Saturn moved into Pisces, here where it still is. Okay, these are slower moving planets. When slower moving planets change signs, they bring big chapter changes in our lives. Here that's going on. And so I think in March of 2023, we started to feel a big shift and chapter change in our life. Like we really were moving out of old things we didn't like and into a better experience here, and into a better experience with Pluto in Aquarius about freedom that was more freeing and liberating to us here. And like we could let the past with Saturn and Pisces go, which was good. Okay, because that happened, we then get the next alignment I want to mention about a month after that, April of 2023. And in April of 2023, we had a new moon solar eclipse here around the last degree of Aries. I also thought that was good because it was a new moon. It was on the North Node here at that time. Aries is a lot about action, about moving forward and being the first sign of the zodiac, about new beginnings. So in April of 2023, we then felt as though we had a big green light here to move into these new and better experiences of life that we'd been trying to get to since 2020, now with better behaviors that were more self-reliant, saving money, secure, calm emotions, all of that here. And that felt more masterful and controlled. And that was very good. But even though that was very good, when we started to try to move forward after that, in the months after, around that next new moon in Taurus, also around what, May of 2023, we then started to run into problems yet again. We then started to run into problems again this May when it came to this new experience of life that we were trying to move forward on here. That frustrated us because all we've been experiencing are roadblocks here, and that was very hard. And what I think we realized, especially about 2 weeks ago around that full moon in Aquarius while Pluto was square the nodes, is that the reason why we hit another roadblock moving forward here in this better experience of life is because we still were not honoring our emotions enough in the ways that it is that we really needed here, and still had not fully tapped into our emotions and created experiences that were in alignment with those. And we made big sweeping changes around 2 weeks ago in our life in order for that to occur and for more of our emotions and what they want to come into the picture in this better experience. Okay, and because we recently have finally gotten into a new chapter of life with better behaviors, honoring our emotions, now this new moon, of which this video is for in Leo, we're trying to feel happier, right? Because we're bringing a lot of stuff together here in our lives and move forward yet again with more courage, with more strength, with more passion here to build our lives more, this new experience, make it better, and keep the momentum going. Okay, here that's happening. Okay, and that's it, because that's all I'm going to say there in terms of the context of these past few years, I suppose. I'm now just going to repeat that one last time here before we move onwards. So let me do that. What I think has been going on, or is going on, the big picture context of this new moon in Leo here is that we have finally or very recently overcome yet another blockage to our forward momentum into a better experience of life, which was for us to honor more of our emotions and to bring more of those into the equation. And because we finally have overcome another blockage on our way to a better life and are honoring our emotions, we're now at this new moon trying to feel happier and better that we've done that and get more of the courage and the strength and the passion and the drive to do even more cool things in our life and to continue on this path of this new and better experience to make it more of a thing that truly resonates and aligns with who it is that we are. Okay. And that's it, because that's it. I'm now going to give you more specific details here about this new moon itself and what's going on here and how it might play out. And to do that, I'm going to start now to talk about the specific aspects that it is making. So let's do that. To do that, I'm going to start here first by placing that new moon on the chart one more time. Here's the new moon, as you can see, 23 degrees Leo. Okay. Okay, the first alignment that I want to talk about here is the fact that this new moon in Leo is pretty closely conjunct here to Venus, which is currently retrograde in this sign. Okay, now this to me, I actually want to consider a good thing. I know Venus is still retrograde. I know retrogrades can be a little difficult, but I want to consider this a good thing because when Venus makes a conjunction with the sun, which is what it did in the days prior to this new moon, it's a very positive moment in the retrograde cycle. It's a very positive moment here because I believe that this is in a big part one of the reasons why Venus goes retrograde is because it gets too far away from the sun. It's good old buddy, the sun, and it needs to come back to kind of exchange notes, get on the same page, regroup. So this to me is a very good thing here that's going on, and of course did mark the halfway period of the Venus retrograde cycle that's happening. So I believe that this is meant to be a positive thing here. What is the positive thing that's going on? Well, all of these planets, the sun, the moon, and Venus are in Leo. Leo is about what? Happiness, joy, passion, courage, strength, risk-taking, leadership ability here. And after conjuncting the sun, it's renewed, especially with the new moon there, refreshed with a better perspective on what to do and on what might make us happy here. So I think what I want to say now, I guess, to bring this aspect together is that, yeah, at this new moon in Leo, we're feeling happier, right? After recently adjusting our life to be more in tune with our emotions, and we're desiring to move forward in this happier place. And I think we are feeling good. We are feeling good in a lot of ways. We are feeling good and pleased about the things we have been able to do and the things we have been able to accomplish and where we are and how far we've come about our situation here. Like we have maybe, I don't know, crossed a big threshold recently here and gotten some important perhaps answers and insights that it is that we've needed about our experience. Okay, the next alignment that I want to mention here that this new moon is making is also going to be the fact that this new moon here is not only conjunct Venus, but is making a square to Jupiter here in Taurus. Okay, I also do see this as a good thing as well, even though, yes, I know it's a square. I see it as a good thing here because Jupiter is involved. Jupiter to me is a planet of gifts, of good luck, wisdom, and optimism here. And squares to me indicate things being done together. So I think that this is a helpful thing here, us just feeling better. In what way are we feeling good, optimistic, hopeful about our experience? Well, back to the new moon in Leo, conjunct Venus, right? This is very good. We're feeling happier about where we're at, what we've done recently, proud, maybe I should use the word Leo, proud of our progress that we've made here to align our lives, more ready to move forward. And it's connecting to Jupiter, bringing good things, and it's in Taurus. And Taurus, maybe I need to note, is more tangible, right? It's an earth sign. It's more tangible. It's more practical. It does in some ways make us feel like things are more solid, so to speak, right? When something's built on earth, built on more solid ground here, that's happening, and more real, more tangible. So what this is indicating to me now, I guess, to continue bringing all of these things together, is that at this new moon in Leo, right, we're feeling happier after recently adjusting our lives to be more in tune with our emotions, more passionate, more excited, more courageous, wanting to move things to the next level. And we're feeling really proud of our progress that we've made so far, and more at ease and more solid. Like we have more of a real and tangible foundation in a different and better experience of life that's going to make us happy from which to build on. Okay. Which I think in some ways, maybe I'll linger here for a minute, which I think in some ways is different from what we've had before. I think over the course of the past 2 or 3 years, if you listen to that early part of this video when I went into the context, we've been trying to get to a new life and nothing ever really felt solid. Like the new life didn't feel super tangible yet. Well, I think that over the course of the past few weeks and now, we're now feeling like we have something to show for ourselves. There's something that, in this new chapter of life that we feel resonates with our heart, that we enjoy, that's starting to become more tangible, that's starting to take more shape, that's starting to take more form here, that we've been working towards, which is coming together. So that's what I feel is going on here. And I feel it's very, very positive with both of these alignments, indicating something good is going on. Okay, that then leads me now to the next bunch of aspects that I want to note here at this new moon is making, and these aren't as positive here as the last two that I was talking about. Okay, the next aspect I want to note is going to be this same new moon that we've been talking about here in Leo, making a square over to Uranus and Taurus, and that's actually like the more exact alignment here since they're all at 23 degrees. Okay, this is a bit of a difficult aspect here because it's a square, which a lot of times is just harder here, and also as well because Uranus is involved. Uranus is an outer planet. Sometimes the outer planets can be a little funny and hard to handle, and because it's in Taurus, a sign that Uranus just doesn't really care to be in. So this to me can be difficult in a lot of ways. What is the difficulty here that's going on? Well, Uranus, especially by hard aspect, can tend to shake things, especially being correlated to the unexpected here that's going on. This can bring something unexpected, perhaps, that could shake, and in Taurus, shake our confidence here in our happier and better experience of life here, or shake our confidence in our abilities. With the Taurus has a lot to do with our skills and talents here to move it forward and to make things manifest in the ways that it is that we might like here. That's going on. That's happening here, and make us feel insecure here at this time. Or maybe another word that I might use is doubtful. Okay, so it can bring some kind of unexpected, and this can be an unexpected event externally, but it feels more internal, especially the new moons are kind of internal. This feels like some sort of unexpected, perhaps external, but especially internal thing that where we start to feel like we're losing confidence and doubting ourselves and our abilities to be happy and to move forward here. That's hard, okay? So what that means to me now, to hold up, to bring it together before I add some more, at this new moon in Leo, okay, we're feeling like we're in a different and better experience of life that's more in tune with our emotions, and we're feeling very happy about it and very proud of our progress in order to get here, and more courageous and strong and willing here to move this better experience of life forward here, to align more with our identity, especially because we feel like a lot of things are starting to feel more real and more tangible and come together in a much better way here. And that is all wonderful. But even though that's great, new experience of life, more in touch with our emotions, wanting to move it forward, more passion, manifesting more tangibly here, we suddenly and unexpectedly, I think through an internal cause, are starting to doubt our newfound better experience in life that it is that we're in, that we've just recently made changes to get in here, and our abilities to move it forward, and are starting to feel insecure and lack confidence in it here, and whatever it might take in order to move our lives forward, which is hard. I need to note, making us feel anxious, nervous with the Uranus here, and possibly even a little restless. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here that this new moon is making, which is also a trine over here to Chiron in Aries. This to me is also a difficult alignment here because Chiron is involved, and Chiron can be a little bit difficult here. And again, the trine doesn't really help that too much. So this to me is also a challenge. What is the difficulty here? Well, Chiron has to do with fears, insecurities, uncomfortable experiences, and it's an Aries, which is about our identity, but it's also too about action and moving it forward, moving things forward here in our lives, especially in a happy way that's fun and joyful and that we're gonna like here. That's going on. Not only is this us feeling even more, right, even more insecure here, that about our abilities to be happy and to move forward, and about this new different person and identity that we're adopting, but I also want to note this can bring insult to injury with the Chiron and bring triggers, just feeling really triggered about our experience, really vulnerable about it here. And this can also bring feelings of stuckness here too, of like hitting a brick wall. Like, I don't know what to do. Nothing's coming together. Nothing's working. It can bring some of that experience here as well, especially with Mars coming into an opposition with Neptune over the course of the next few days. Okay, that can be quite hard. All right, so what this means to me, to back up here, to bring it together before I add one or two more alignments here, what's going on at this new moon in Leo is that in a lot of ways, we're feeling good. We're feeling like happier about our lives after recently making changes in our lives to align them more with our emotions here, and more able to move forward with these happier things in a new, different, and better experience. Okay, and we're feeling very proud of what we've done to get to this point, and like things are starting to come together in a more real, solid, and tangible way. But even though that's beautiful, new and better experience of life, happier, proud of ourselves, want to move it forward, feels more solid, we suddenly and unexpectedly, I think, start to doubt this better experience of life that we're now in, that we've recently made changes to be in, whether or not it's going to make us happy or not, and our abilities to move it forward and make it even better after this point, and get insecure, which I think then makes us feel very anxious, very restless, very nervous, and very triggered here about what's going on, and makes us feel stuck and confused now about what to do next and how to do it. That is very challenging here at the same time that we're kind of feeling good. Okay. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which is going to be to Mercury, because Mercury is not a retrograde yet, but it is in pre-retrograde shadow currently, and it is going to go retrograde on August 23rd, so not too far from now. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Okay, Mercury about to go retrograde in Virgo. Okay, and I want to talk about this because I think that this is a challenge, right? Because it's a planet about to go retrograde, which isn't the direction it normally likes to go in, and because I think it's actually a pretty big deal, since it will be retrograde for a few more weeks, and it'd be a thing we're dealing with for a bit longer. So I want to linger here on this. What is this about? Well, when a planet goes retrograde here, it means that there's something that's not right with that planet and with that sign in particular, and that's not being done to the best, highest, or healthiest degree that it needs to be, or else why would the planet go retrograde there? Hey, not only does it indicate that there's something about that planet and that sign that's not right here that's going on, but it also indicates that it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be readjusted here in order for us to move forward. What is it that's not right here? It's the Mercury influence and the Virgo influence, right? Because that's what we're talking about here, where Mercury is. Okay. Virgo and Mercury, they're correlated, right? Mercury's at home here in Virgo. Virgo is a lot about thinking. It's especially in more practical and strategic ways. It's a lot about working, but when unhealthy, which is what we're talking about, because Mercury's about to go retrograde here, Virgo can tend towards overthinking here, especially thinking in too much of a perfectionistic, that's also a thing with Virgo, and critical type way. Not only that, but it can also lead to overworking, right? Working too much, fixing too many things here. And it can also tend towards having to prove ourselves, feeling like we have to work so hard and prove ourselves here too much as well. That can be unhelpful here, that is going on at this time. Okay, and with Mercury about to go retrograde there, this to me, I think, indicates two things. It indicates that we're falling back into those habits, right? Or they're starting to show themselves more that are not helpful in our situation, especially because, right, we're doubting and nervous about our situation and what's going to happen. Not only does it mean that we're falling perhaps back into these habits, overthinking, overworking, perfectionistic, critical, proving ourselves here, but it also to me indicates that that is the blockage. Not only are we falling back into those habits because we're doubting our abilities to be happy and to have fun, but it indicates that to me is the problem here. The reason why we're feeling stuck moving forward or having difficulties is because these behaviors that are too much stuck in working and thinking here, that's going on. Okay, so what that means to me now, to continue to bring this together here so far, is that what's happening at this new moon in Leo is that we, I think, are feeling in some ways very good. Okay, like we have recently changed our lives to be more in alignment with our emotions here, and that we are more happy now and more able to move our lives forward into a new, different, and better experience that it is that we really enjoy here, with a more firm foundation in our experience here, which is great. But even though we're feeling happier, more in tune with our emotions, and a better experience of life, more solid, more able to move it forward, we're suddenly and unexpectedly doubting a lot of things about this experience, doubting whether or not we're truly happy in this better experience of life that we've arranged to be, and doubting our abilities, I think, to move this better experience of life forward and take it to the next level, which is making us feel insecure and restless and anxious and nervous and triggered and vulnerable here, and feel really stuck. And I think in a lot of ways confused and uncertain about what to do to be happy in this different and better experience of life and to move it forward. And because we're going down the rabbit hole, nervous, anxious, scared, triggered about something great that's happening in our lives that we really love, we're falling back into a lot of unhelpful habits and tendencies, such as overthinking our situation, being too critical of ourselves and others and how we handle it, and perfectionistic here, and overworking and overfixing our situation, and feeling like we have to prove ourselves here. That's going on, which is not going to be helpful here, and which I think is going to cause a lot of problems that we're going to have to work out. Okay, why? Maybe now I'll add another thought that came to me after saying that. Why are we falling back here, right? Two questions. Why are we falling back into overworking, overthinking, perfection, right? Because we're nervous, anxious, and insecure about having fun and being happy in this different experience. But why also is that not helpful? Why is us overthinking, overworking, being too perfectionistic and too critical here not helpful with what's going on? Okay, why is that not helpful? Because I'm sure, there is a case to be made, right? That working hard means you care about something, right? Why is that not helpful? Well, the new experience of life that we're going into, especially after the new moon in Leo, that we've been talking about for quite some time, is meant to be a happy, fun, joyful experience, right? And the new moon is in Leo, about playing. And when you're sitting there and you're thinking about everything that you're doing in this new experience, critical, perfectionistic. Well, you didn't do this right. You need to work harder. Oh, you need to do that. That is not fun. That's not fun. That's not playful. That's not in alignment here with our heart and the way that we need. So the reason why the overthinking, the overworking, the proving ourselves is unhelpful here is because that's not what the new experience of life is all about. Okay. Do you see? The new experience of life is about playing, pleasure, joy, fun, not having to watch and mind your P's and Q's to make sure you're doing everything just right. Okay, now there is a time and place for the Virgo, right? But especially the overthink, there's a time and place. It's just now is not that time here. The overthinking, the overworking is going to hold you back here if you, at this time, if you stay with it. Okay, so that's what I want to say there. And I think that ties up pretty much what I plan to say here in terms of the aspects. And because that's all I'm going to say here in terms of that, let me take a minute, I guess, to give you some advice here about how to handle that that's going on. And the advice that I want to give you about how to handle this, I think, is to go back for a minute to the Mercury about to go retrograde in Virgo. Mercury is a lot about our conscious mind, bringing things into conscious awareness that, especially when it's about to go retrograde, that maybe we weren't conscious of before. So I think the first piece of advice that I want to give you about this new moon is for you to just be consciously aware here, and to be consciously aware that you may be doubting your situation, right? That may be going on, and that the doubt may be unhelpful. And not only to be consciously aware that you may be doubting your situation and that may be unhelpful, but to also be consciously aware that that doubt may have you fall back into behaviors in your situation, such as overworking and overthinking, that may also not be conducive to your success. Okay, so I think that that's my first piece of advice here, is there's a need to just be consciously aware that that's going on. Hey, you don't have to fix it quite yet, right? Usually we need Mercury to go retrograde, actually go retrograde, in order for us to fix stuff. And I think that full moon in Pisces 2 weeks from now is going to be super important. So the advice isn't to fix any of this stuff. It's just to be consciously aware here that you may be doubting your situation and falling back into old habits, such as overworking and thinking that might be unhelpful. And not only is that the piece of advice I want to give you, but I think another piece of advice I want to give you is going to go back to Mercury retrograde as well. Sometimes when a planet goes retrograde, to me, it indicates it pulls more the opposite sign. It pulls more the opposite sign and indicates that the opposite sign may be more helpful to bring these things into balance. Okay, and the opposite sign of Virgo, of course, is Pisces. Can be Jupiter ruled, Neptune, things like that. And that's a lot about faith. It's about faith, and it's about trusting in the universe, having hope that you're going to be fine, here, and that you made the right choices that you made, a few weeks ago to get your life in a better place here, and that everything's going to work out just in the way that it is that you need. Okay, because I think that the more that you can cultivate this hope and this faith here, about your situation, you're not going to get as insecure, right? You're not going to get as insecure about it, and then not feel so much of the need to fall back into these old behaviors here that might be unhelpful. That is going on. Hey, not only that, but I think another piece of advice I might want to give you too, with the opposite, right, of Mercury in retrograde, when it eventually goes retrograde, being in Pisces, is also to patience. I think there's just patience that's needed when it comes to us getting comfortable in a different experience and more confident in a happier experience of life. Sometimes it's just time. Sometimes time is the best medicine. Sometimes that's what you need, is just time here in order to get used to something and build up your confidence when it comes to doing something differently. So I think another thought here as well is to just be patient to yourself if you do kind of act weird or feel uncomfortable. Another piece of advice as well with the Pisces too might be compassion, to be compassionate to yourself and other people here as you work through this that is going on. And maybe even also with the Pisces, to be open to learn or understand different approaches here to your life as well that is happening in order to maneuver some of this stuff. Okay, and that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say for now in terms of this new moon, because that's it. I'm just going to repeat those things one last time without the astrological jargon, so you can get a little bit of a different and better idea of what I think is going on here. So let me do that now. What I think is going on here at this new moon in Leo is that we are feeling, I think, much happier and better after recently adjusting a lot of things in our lives here to be different, better, and more in tune with our emotions. Not only that, but we're also feeling here more excited, ready, and able to take this better and happier experience of life that's more in tune with our emotions that we've been working towards for a while, to move it forward, to take it to the next level, especially because it's starting to feel more real, more tangible here, more practical, and more sustainable. And this is all very, very good and very wonderful. But even though we're in a better place of life, we're very happy about it, very excited about it. It feels more real and more tangible here. And we want to move it forward. We suddenly and unexpectedly then start to doubt that we did the right thing and are truly in a better and a happier place here, and doubt as well our abilities, our own skills and talents to be happy and to move these things forward in our lives in a way that is actually going to work. Here that's going on that can make us feel very insecure here, and very anxious, restless, and nervous, and very triggered and vulnerable here about our experience, and maybe even confused or uncertain of what to do now with our situation to move it forward. That can be very, very hard. And because we're feeling doubtful of something very good that's going on in our lives here and confused about how to move it forward, I think we then start to fall back into a bunch of unhelpful habits and behaviors, right? Because we're scared and insecure here. When it comes to this new and better experience, that's just not going to work for us. And I think the unhelpful behaviors that we fall back into are over worrying, overthinking, over stressing about our situation to fix it and have it go in a better place. And I'm being too perfectionistic and too critical of ourselves and others and how we move forward in this better place. And I'm feeling like we have to prove ourselves here to ourselves and others here, which is a challenge that I don't know if we realize it yet, but is just not going to work. Those over-proving behaviors, they're not going to work here and are going to make us feel even more stuck as time goes on. And because that's what's happening here at this new moon, I now want to give you some advice. And the advice that I want to give you here is for you to simply just be consciously aware here that you may be doubting something very good that's going on in your life and falling back into unhelpful behaviors such as overworking, overthinking, proving yourself, and being too perfectionistic and critical. Not only as part of the advice just to be aware of that, because conscious awareness can do wonders here, but to also try to cultivate more trust, hope, and faith in your experience. Trust, hope, and faith that you did the right thing over the course of the past few weeks to get to a different place, and trust, hope, and faith that you can do it and you have what it takes here in order to move forward, and that the divine is on your side. And then to be patient here with yourself while you get this conscious awareness and while you get some faith here in your situation, and to be compassionate to yourself while all of this comes together and while you get more wisdom and understanding here about what is going on, because I think that's gonna help you just maneuver this with more ease here and feel much better about your situation. And the reason why, maybe now, and the reason why here you need to be conscious, right, that overworking and overthinking is not going to be good for your situation here, is because this new and better experience of life that we're now in, that's in tune with our emotions, is not meant to be hard, stressful, overworked. It's meant to be one that's more playful and fun here, which requires less stress and overthinking. Okay, and that's it. That's what I want to say there. We're, maybe to put it more simply, we're in a new, different, and better experience of life that's becoming more real and more tangible and more in alignment with our heart here, that we want to move forward because we're excited about it. But even though that's going on, we're insecure and we're doubting unexpectedly where we are, whether it's going to make us happy, our abilities to move it forward, which is bringing a whole lot of issues, anxiety, nervousness, unhelpful behaviors, overworking, overthinking, which are not going to work. We need to be aware of, okay? Yes, I think that's what I want to say there. Okay. Just trying to decide if there's anything else that I want to emphasize. Yeah, I think there's a thing that I want to emphasize here. And I think the thing that I want to emphasize here that didn't really come to me until I was filming this video is that there's a possibility that some of you, sure, may doubt your abilities and your current experience of life that's making you happier now, and your abilities to move it forward. But there's also another doubt that I think can come up at this new moon about whether or not we did the right thing 2 weeks ago and whether or not we're in the right place to begin with. And I think I just wanted to take a minute to separate both of those doubts and to just say, like, I don't like, neither are valid, right? So that, I think there's a point I want to say here. There's two possible doubts at this new moon. One is that you made the right changes recently to get to a different experience of life that's happier, and another is how you can move those changes forward now to be happier. Don't spiral down that doubt rabbit hole here. Okay, you have to trust that you did whatever was right for your situation recently in order to get here, and that you have what it takes. Okay, and to not go reinventing the wheel, because sometimes when we have Venus still retrograde and Mercury is about to go retrograde, we can overcomplicate the situation, and we can go back and be like, oh well, I don't know, I'm so nervous about my situation, maybe I did the wrong thing, 2 weeks ago, maybe I did the wrong thing 5 months ago, maybe I need to backtrack. And it's like, well, and it's like, no, you have to trust that you did what you needed to do when you needed to do it here, and to be at ease here with your situation. Okay. Especially with Venus now more than halfway through its retrograde period. Okay. Because I'm just getting a sense that some of you, right, may try, may try to like redo your situation. You know how sometimes when you try to fix the fixes, like that's another thought. You know how sometimes when you're like, I just fixed something in my life, but now I don't know if I fixed the right thing. Let me try to fix it again. And then it makes it worse. So I think I'm just getting a thought here of like, there's a big thing at this new moon in Leo, especially with the square Jupiter, and like there's a lot about Leo too. It's like about courage. You just have to trust that you have done the right thing prior to this point, and that you're in the right place, and not redo stuff or act out because of insecurity, because acting out because of insecurity, I think, can create a lot of challenges. Okay. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to say there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at your inside degrees. So I'm going to pull those up here on the screen. Okay. I'm going to look at the inside degrees, of course, right? That's the one I have up here for the new moon in Leo, which is at 23 degrees Leo. So we're going to look at that. The inside degrees weren't written by me. They were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of the degrees from spirit. But I want to look at these. Okay, I'm going to look at those first. However, I need to note that even though I'm going to look at the inside degrees for the new moon in Leo, I think there's another one I want to look at that I think is actually going to be more relevant. But let's start here. Hey, the new moon in Leo is at 23 degrees. Let's look at 22, since I think the degrees before, of, and after can all be relevant. 22 degrees Leo says this: imperious self-command, the self entirely conscious of its own territorial rights and privileges, exerts a presence, a force, saturating the atmosphere with one's love, light, and intensity. Big, bright, deep, and formidable, so very purposive that your every breath is conceived to be part of the master plan. Grandiose and inflated, yet into something so essential that it is very difficult to go against. It is the ingrained aura of spiritual authority and cosmic intent linked with the heights, seeping into the depths. So the first few things here that I get from this degree are actually good things, that this degree is saying. I think it's talking a lot about us being more in touch with our heart, right? Love, light, and intensity, big and bright. It's also too about us feeling stronger, right? Exerting a presence and a force. So I think there's a lot that I get in terms of that, in tune with our heart, feeling stronger here. Okay. Yet into something so essential. Yeah. It is the ingrained aura of spiritual authority and cosmic intent linked with the heights. You become so enduring and insistent that others back out of the picture. Okay, I have to tell you, after reading more, this degree is very positive. I think that there's something about this new moon to me that does feel like it has somewhat of a challenging edge, with it being squaring Uranus and trine Chiron, which of course the inside degrees don't know. So the way that I feel about 22 degrees Leo is that is not that it's describing so much what is happening on the exact day of the new moon, but that this is aspirational for what the whole lunar month is about and is trying to achieve. Okay? Not only do I see this degree as that, but I also too see this degree here as hope that we are going to figure it out here, that we are going to be able to, over the course of the next few weeks, stay in touch with our heart and stay in touch with this bright life force, this hope, this optimism, this faith here that's going on, and to not let the doubt get us off track. So I think that that's one thought that I have here from this inside degree, is that, yeah, we're in a better experience of life. We are doubting it. We're falling back into weird behaviors, but there's a huge chance here and promise that we're not going to let that get us down for long here, this anxiety and nervousness, and that we are eventually going to be able to pick ourselves out of it and stay in touch with our heart in this happy and better experience here that's going on. Okay. Let's look at the actual 23 degrees Leo, of which this new moon is for. It says spectacular attainment, peak capacity, everything prepared and ready, the consummation of lifetimes and the destiny drama of self-mastery, your tireless pursuit of perfection and gift of knowing what is asked are charged with collective power. So I think what I'm feeling from this inside degree so far here, which is interesting, is it does mention perfection, your tireless pursuit of perfection here, which ties into the Mercury going retrograde in Virgo here that's happening. So I think that this does note that maybe there's something there that it is that we need to work through and to get in a healthier way that's going on, some kind of healthier capacity, if you will, in order for us to bring some of this stuff together. Okay. So I think that's what I want to say here about these two inside degrees with Leo. We're going to be able to, there's something, even though we're doubting, we're going to be able to figure a lot of this stuff out here that's going on in order to kind of land on our feet here and to stay in touch with our heart. And I think there's a lot about the pursuit of perfection that's in the way that needs to be worked out. Okay. So there's that. The next inside degree that I want to look at, I think, is actually the more important one, and that's going to be the one for Mercury about to go retrograde here. Because to be honest with you, those degrees for the new moon in Leo were a little too optimistic for me for what I think is actually going on. So I just want to go to Virgo really quickly. Mercury is going to go retrograde in Virgo at 21 degrees. So let's look at that. Okay. 21 degrees. It says so much to be done, so many fragments to move with, such a confounding. The one inside is calm and quiet, poised and accepting, knows what shall be. The one outside is frantic, with events and experiences which do not add up. Severe conditions to test the soul and give the mind quite a scare. The process is to keep going into it a little further, despite yourself, and to keep losing who you thought you were in the bargain, because there is somebody to be when there's nobody left to be, and only then. So with a bunch of the stuff that's going on, of course, with the aspect and these inside degrees here, my thought is this is what we're feeling first. The Virgo 21, there is a part of us, we are in a better place of life, and part of us recognizes it and is calm and quiet and accepting of this better place of life that's happy. And then there's another part of ourselves that is really nervous and frantic about this better experience of life that it is that we're in, and feels busy and like we have to do all of this stuff, right? That's keeping us stuck in the perfectionism. That's the problem that we're going to have to work through, but that we are, if you saw the degrees for the new moon in Leo, but that I think in a lot of ways we are going to be able to work through here and to stay in touch with our heart here that we need. that's going on. So I think that's how I make sense of the inside degrees. Okay. And I think that's all I'll say for now. Okay. Because that said, I guess I'm going to go ahead and pull your card. So let me do that. Your card here is the King of Pentacles upright, and at the bottom of the deck, we've got Justice upright. What do I want to say here? What am I getting? I'm saying hold true. Well, do I want to, I think I'm getting a message of like know yourself. Know yourself, because the King of Pentacles, right? The pentacles to me have a lot to do with your value, what's important to you. Kings, of course, can be very masterful, and justice to me is definitely one that can be a little more mental, so, and more about clarity. So I'm getting the sense of like there's a need to know yourself and know what is important here, I think, to you throughout this experience, right? Because remember, there's a thing that can happen at this new moon in Leo where we devolve into doubt. We devolve into doubt and insecurity. Did I make the right change in my life? Did I do the right thing? You know, am I on the right path? Do I have what it takes? And I think that there's a need to know yourself and to know your value and your worth here, and to tap more into that here that is going on. Okay. Because I think the more that you know what's important to you and build yourself up, your value and your worth, the less you're going to worry and doubt and feel the need to overwork and overprove and all of that. Okay. I think that's the sense that I'm getting here. What else? You know, I'm also getting a sense too, you know, justice can pertain to Libra about balance. I don't know how much I want to lean on Libra themes with the South Node being there, but I'm also getting a sense too of like not rocking the boat. You know, when you don't know what to do, right, and are doubting, that's not the time you want to make big, crazy, sweeping moves. When you're feeling doubtful and insecure, the time you want to make big moves is when you feel calm and at ease. So I think not only is another piece of advice here from the cards of like, you have to know yourself and know your value and know your worth and believe in that and what's important to you here, but also to not make big rash moves at this time as well until you do know your value and worth, and until you do come at things from a calm place, so that you don't get yourself into situations here that maybe you don't want to be in at this time. Okay. Not only that, but another thought that I'm getting here too with the King of Pentacles is like to go back to the slow and steady. You know, that was a whole thing we talked about last year for a long time with the North Node in Taurus, and Jupiter is still there. But I think that's also another thought here too, is like, don't know yourself and your worth. Don't make big rash moves, and keep with the slow and steady approach, right? If you don't know what to do, don't do anything crazy. Just keep slow and steady here, because when you're going about your situation in a slow and steady way, you can make adjustments if you need. If you're going fast and doing all this crazy stuff, right, then sometimes it's hard to realize and course correct. But when you're going slower, sometimes it's easier to recognize where you might need to course correct or adjust things here that's going on. So I think that that's another thought that I have here too. Another thought that I want to give too, especially with justice being about balance, is to try to keep the middle mind, you know, the middle mindset here, because there's such doubt that may creep in about your experience. Some of you may have moments around this new moon where one minute you believe and what you've recently done in your life and your abilities, and then the next day you're down in the dumps and you don't believe where you are is good and things hard. And so I think another piece of advice too is to try to keep the middle perspective. You don't need to feel like you're in the absolute best place of your life, but you don't need to feel like you're in the worst place, and to try to just maintain for now, not forever, just kind of like a more balanced perspective on your experience, because I think that is what also is going to prevent you from making rash moves, and from doubting yourself here, and is going to keep you more on a better trajectory here that's going on. Okay. Because another thought here too, because we want to, right? We want to move forward into a new, different, and better experience of life, but we're not ready to yet. Okay. And when you want to move forward into a better experience of life, but you're not ready to yet, then you don't want to make big moves forward, right? Because it can mess things up. You either want to stay still, or just go slow and steady here as you move forward, because slow and steady, right, is what's going to keep you on track instead of make things crazy here that's going on. So I think that's what I'm going to say here. Know yourself, your value, and your worth. Don't make any rash moves. Either stay where you are, or slow and steady still is helpful, and to try to be balanced throughout this situation here as you move forward. Okay. And I think that's all I'm going to say there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. I wish you all the best here at this new moon in Leo, and I will talk to you on the next video.